There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words. When people disrespect you, they expect a loud reaction, but the most powerful response is often no response at all. And here's the truth. When God is preparing to bless a woman with something extraordinary, she won't need to announce it. She'll see the signs, she'll feel the shift, and the same people who once disrespected her will regret ever underestimating her. Respect is not something you beg for. It's not something you chase. It's something you naturally command when you know who you are and where you're going. The truth is, people will test your boundaries. They'll underestimate you. They'll say things that are designed to cut deep just to see how you react. And here's the trap. Most people think they have to clap back, to defend themselves, to argue until the other side finally understands. But real strength doesn't show up in the noise. Real strength shows up in silence. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, what they're really doing is trying to pull you into their chaos. They want to see you lose composure. They want to see you break character. And the second you do, they win. But when you respond with calm boundaries, when you refuse to play the game, it throws them off balance. Because now they can't control you. Now they can't use your reaction as fuel. Instead, they're left with the weight of their own behavior. Boundaries are powerful because they communicate without you having to explain. When you stop showing up for people who constantly tear you down, that's a boundary. When you no longer answer the phone for conversations that drain your energy, that's a boundary. When you choose not to sit at the same table with people who don't respect your worth, that's a boundary. And what's beautiful about boundaries is that they don't require an announcement. You don't need to tell anyone, I'm cutting you off, or I'm done with this. Your actions make it clear. Your silence makes it clear. And here's the part most people don't expect. When you hold strong boundaries, the ones who disrespected you will eventually regret it. At first, they might laugh. At first, they might dismiss you. But the moment they realize that their words no longer have access to you, the moment they realize they can't push your buttons anymore, that's when the regret sets in. Because disrespect loses its power when the other person refuses to participate. Respect and boundaries go hand in hand. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. If you allow constant disrespect, they'll assume it's acceptable. If you stand firm and walk away, you send a louder message than any argument could ever carry. People remember how you responded when they tried to test you. They remember the way you refused to shrink or lash out. And that memory becomes their regret. So let them say what they want. Let them act how they want. You don't have to fix their perception. You don't have to defend your name. Your silence, your growth, your peace, that's the response. And in time, the very people who disrespected you will look back and realize they lost access to someone they should have valued. That's the power of respect built on boundaries. The most powerful moves you'll ever make in life are the ones nobody sees coming. People expect you to announce your every step, to show them proof, to talk about the plans you're making. But the truth is, real growth happens in silence. You don't need to broadcast every detail. You don't need validation from an audience that doesn't even care about your journey. Silent investment in yourself is one of the most unstoppable forces you can create. While they're watching, you're working. While they're talking, you're transforming. You might be reading books that sharpen your thinking, showing up to the gym when no one else is looking, putting away money in places they'll never know about, or learning skills in the late hours when the world is asleep. And here's the thing, nobody applauds you when you're in that season. It feels quiet. It feels unnoticed. But when the results begin to show, that silence turns into the loudest statement you'll ever make. People regret disrespecting you when they realize that you used their doubt as fuel. They thought you were standing still, but really, you were building momentum. They thought you weren't capable, but really, you were preparing for a breakthrough. And that regret doesn't come because you threw it in their face. It comes because the evidence speaks for itself. You can't argue with growth. You can't debate results. Silent investment also protects your energy. When you keep your moves quiet, you protect your plans from negativity. Not everyone around you wants to see you win. Some want to plant seeds of doubt, to convince you that your dream is too big or too unrealistic. But when you stay silent, when you build in private, you give those voices nothing to touch. They can't sabotage what they don't know. The beauty of this kind of growth is that it doesn't just change what you have, it changes who you are. Every silent hour you spend learning, every quiet morning you spend developing discipline, every small step you take in private, it's reshaping your identity. You're becoming stronger, sharper, and more resilient. And when people finally see you again, they don't just notice the results, they notice the new version of you standing in front of them. That's why silence is powerful. Because when you choose to invest in yourself privately, you're building something that no one can take credit for but you and God. And when the time is right, the blessing shows. And that's when regret kicks in for the ones who disrespected you. They realize they should have encouraged you. They realize they should have treated you better. Because now they see they were never holding you back. They were only watching from the sidelines while you leveled up in silence. So stay quiet. Keep investing. Keep working. Let them think nothing is happening. And when the results arrive, you won't need to say a word. Your growth will speak louder than any defense ever could. There is a kind of power that comes when you stop giving people access to you. Not in a dramatic way, not in a loud confrontation, not with long explanations, just a quiet decision. This no longer serves me. This no longer feeds my peace. This no longer has a seat in my life. That choice alone speaks louder than any argument ever could. People expect a fight when they disrespect you. They expect you to lash out, to defend yourself, to prove why you deserve better. But when you simply remove their access without saying much, it disarms them completely. Peaceful separation is a language that only strong people speak. It says, I value my energy too much to waste it in battles that don't matter. You don't yell. You don't curse. You don't even need to explain why. You just step back. You stop returning the calls that always end in negativity. You stop responding to the texts that only bring drama. You stop showing up to spaces that drain you instead of feed you. That silence sends a message that can't be ignored. You are protecting your peace, and no one has the right to take that away. And here's what happens when you do this: the people who disrespected you start to feel it. At first, they may not notice. They may even laugh and assume you'll be back. But as the days go on and your absence becomes real, they begin to understand. They realize the access they once took for granted is gone. They realize the emotional energy they used to pull from you is no longer available. And that's when regret begins to grow inside them, because they didn't lose you through conflict, they lost you through peace. That type of loss hurts the most, because when you leave quietly, there's no one to argue with, no closure speech, no dramatic ending they can twist around to make themselves the victim. They're just left with the silence. And that silence makes them face their own behavior. It forces them to ask themselves, what did I do? Why did this person, who used to be present, suddenly pull away? That reflection is where the regret sets in. Cutting access peacefully is also freedom for you, because anger keeps you tied to the situation. Revenge keeps you tethered to their actions, but peace sets you free. You don't carry their disrespect with you. You don't replay the arguments in your mind. You don't keep reopening the wound. Instead, you protect your heart by walking away with dignity. And the truth is, you don't have to announce to the world who you're cutting off. You don't have to post about it or make it known or justify your decision. The beauty of boundaries is that they don't require explanations. The right people will feel your absence, and the wrong people will expose themselves in your silence. So don't waste your energy fighting to be respected by people who have already shown you who they are. Just remove their access. Do it quietly. Do it peacefully. And watch how the absence of your presence becomes the loudest regret they'll ever hear. There comes a point where you realize that words aren't enough. You can talk about what you're going to do. You can defend yourself against every insult. You can try to explain your worth over and over again, but none of it hits as hard as results. People may doubt your abilities. They may disrespect your journey. They may laugh at your dreams. But when the results show up, everything shifts. Success is the loudest response you could ever give. It speaks in a language that even your critics can't ignore. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, they're betting against your future. They're assuming that you won't follow through, that you won't rise above, that you won't prove them wrong. That's why arguing with them is pointless, because they've already decided who they think you are. The real victory is showing them who you actually are through action. When you let your results speak, there's no debate left. The evidence is in front of them, and evidence always silences doubt. And here's the thing about results: they don't show up overnight. They take time. They take consistency. They take sacrifices that most people will never see. They don't see the late nights, the early mornings, the hours of discipline when no one is watching. They don't see the moments you wanted to quit, but pushed through anyway. That's why results are so powerful, because they're built in silence and revealed at the right time. And when that time comes, the same people who disrespected you will have no choice but to watch. There is a certain regret that comes when people realize they underestimated you. They remember the words they spoke, the way they dismissed you, the way they laughed. And then they're faced with the undeniable truth of your progress. Maybe you built the business they said would never work. Maybe you healed from the pain they thought would destroy you. Maybe you created a life so peaceful, so abundant, so strong that it stands as living proof that their disrespect had no power over you. That's the kind of regret that lingers. Because while they wasted time doubting, you were busy growing. Letting your results speak also keeps your energy intact. Instead of spending your strength on arguments, you pour it into your growth. Instead of giving your attention to negativity, you focus on becoming. And when your focus is on building instead of defending, your progress accelerates. You win faster because you're not distracted by trying to prove anything in the moment. You let the future speak for itself. And when it does, it speaks louder than any clapback ever could. Results don't need volume. They don't need explanations. They don't need validation. They simply exist, and in existing, they make every word of doubt disappear. That's why the most powerful move you can make after being disrespected is to rise quietly, work silently, and let your success do all the talking. There is a different kind of peace that comes when you finally stop chasing validation and start aligning yourself with purpose. You realize that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone is supposed to clap for you, and not everyone will respect what you're becoming. And that's okay. Because when you know who you are and you trust what God is doing in your life, you don't need the approval of people. You need the direction of purpose. That shift alone changes everything. When you're aligned with your purpose, you stop reacting to every distraction. You stop getting pulled into unnecessary battles. You stop wasting energy on proving yourself. Instead, you move with intention. Every decision you make, every step you take, it's guided by something greater than you. And people notice that. They might not understand it, but they see it. And when they've disrespected you in the past, when they've doubted you or mocked your path, regret hits differently once they realize you're walking in something bigger than yourself. Purpose makes you untouchable in ways words can't explain. Because when you're aligned with what God has placed inside you, their disrespect doesn't stop you. It fuels you. Their rejection doesn't break you. It redirects you. Every closed door, every harsh word, every dismissal only becomes proof that you were never meant to depend on them in the first place. And that's where we're waiting on God comes in. Because alignment isn't about rushing. It's not about proving. It's about trusting His timing. Waiting on God doesn't mean sitting still. It means preparing. It means staying faithful in the small things. It means showing up even when you don't see results yet. It means holding on to peace when everything around you looks like chaos. And that kind of patience makes people uncomfortable because they expect you to panic. They expect you to lash out. But instead, you remain steady, calm, and anchored. And that stability is what separates you. When God is about to bless you, He often tests your ability to wait. He wants to see if you'll trust Him in the delay, if you'll stay consistent in the process, if you'll lean on faith instead of fear. And the more you wait on Him, the more your life aligns with the exact purpose He designed for you. That's when things begin to fall into place. The right doors open, the right people appear, the right opportunities align. And the same people who disrespected you are forced to watch that shift. And here's the truth: when your blessing arrives, you won't have to announce it. It will be visible. It will be undeniable. And it will make the ones who underestimated you wish they had treated you better. Because aligning with purpose and waiting on God always leads to elevation. And when that elevation comes, silence and patience prove to be the most powerful answers of all. Growth is one of the quietest yet most powerful things you can carry with you. It doesn't need to be announced, it doesn't need to be advertised, and it doesn't need to be approved by anyone else. True growth is purposeful. It happens with intention, with discipline, and with faith. And when it's combined with God's blessings, it creates a life that speaks volumes without you ever raising your voice. People often expect transformation to be loud. They expect big declarations, constant updates, and dramatic displays. But the deepest changes usually happen in silence. Growth shows up in the way you think differently, the way you handle pressure, the way you no longer react to things that used to break you down. It's in the way you protect your peace, in the way you treat yourself with respect, and in the way you stop chasing things that were never meant for you. That kind of quiet growth is unshakable, and it's only a matter of time before people notice. When you grow with purpose, you're not just changing on the surface, you're becoming someone new on the inside. And people who once disrespected you, who once doubted you, eventually see that they no longer recognize you in the same way. You're not playing the same games. You're not standing in the same places. You've outgrown the version of yourself they thought they could belittle. And that realization stings because it means their disrespect no longer has power over who you've become. Now add divine blessings to that growth. When God begins to move in your life, He elevates you in ways no one else can. Opportunities come that you didn't chase. Favor shows up in unexpected places. Doors open that were locked before. And it all aligns with the growth you've been working on in silence. That's when everything starts to make sense. You weren't waiting for people to respect you. You were waiting for God to reveal what He was preparing you for. The beauty of purposeful growth is that it never leaves you where you started. It pushes you forward step by step, even when no one is watching. And when blessings attach themselves to that progress, your life becomes living proof of what happens when patience, faith, and discipline meet God's timing. People who once disrespected you are forced to watch as your silent investment, your private transformation, and your consistent faith turn into something undeniable. And the regret they feel is not just about how they treated you. It's about how they underestimated the power of growth and the hand of God. Because while they were focused on tearing you down, you were focused on building. While they were gossiping, you were growing. While they were laughing, you were leveling up. And now, with blessings covering your life, the difference between who you were and who you've become is impossible to ignore. Silent progress, divine blessings. Together, they create a testimony so strong that it doesn't need defending. It speaks for itself. And the ones who disrespected you will always wish they had valued you before your elevation began. At the end of the day, you don't have to fight to be respected. You don't have to waste your energy proving yourself to people who never saw your value in the first place. Your silence, your boundaries, your growth, your results, your patience, and your faith will always speak louder than any argument could. And when God decides it's your time, nothing and no one can stop the blessing He has for you. The same people who once disrespected you will look back and regret the way they treated you not because you forced them to, but because your life became undeniable proof that you were never defined by their opinions. You were defined by your growth, your purpose, and the hand of God over your journey. So keep moving in silence, keep protecting your peace, keep investing in yourself, and keep trusting His timing. Because the greatest response to disrespect is always elevation.